Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat shalom.
We're doing a pre-recorded message today because our internet is acting up, so we couldn't get on in a Facebook room live or anything like that. But that's okay. I believe that soon enough we will all be in the same room, um, praising, praying, learning, rejoicing, eating, as we should on a beautiful day like today and on Shabbat. But for now, I believe that God has set us apart this time, this period, these days for learning and reflection. Like I think now is just a time to like really learn and take in what it is that God needs us to take in and to just kind of meditate on it and think about it, right? This is a time to be set apart. I don't believe in accidents. I believe that Yah does everything for a reason. And I believe that right now, with this COVID thing and people having to quarantine and families not being able to be together, this, even the ones we love can be a distraction to us. So right now is a time was a time where Yah has decided He will remove those distractions, right? You and
And
Mike
give
and
you
I.
time to focus on him and focus on you getting your relationship
Right, right. Mike said, in case you can't hear, to give us time to focus on us, getting our relationship right with Him. And so I strongly believe that, so often, even the people we love are like distractions, right? Nobody means to be a distraction, but that's just what people are.
and
People are distractions.
you don't mean for them to be a distraction.
Right,
But
right.
that human side, that family, they're unintentional distraction.
Correct. And I hope you can hear Mike because I don't want to keep repeating everything he said. Um, but we are ourselves, to sum up what he said, we are ourselves unintentional distractions to one another, right? And so we don't mean to be distractions, nor do our family mean to be a distraction to us, but that is exactly what happens. And right now is just not a time for distractions. It's a time to focus in on what Yah is trying to tell us, and to start to change our mindset and our mind frame so that we can actually follow through with the instructions that he's giving us. So last week we talked about, we studied Isaiah 30, and we discussed the prophecy that Isaiah gave that ultimately tells us that we need to wait on Yah. That in times like these, that in a time like this, we need to wait on Yah and not trust in the system, not trust in oppressive systems and institutions and organizations, governments, whatever, but to just wait on Yah. In that we learned, fast is not good. So today we're learning about waiting. What does waiting look like, right? And so we're going to see what waiting looked like to David. And David was many things, right? I believe I have a heart of David. He was so many things. He was a warrior. He was a leader. He was very creative, right? He wrote music, and so he has all these different sides and layers, right, to him. And so one of the ways that David gave back to God was to kind of journal his journey through music and poems and things of that nature, to enlighten people about who Yah was. And in this particular song, Waiting, David is expressing to us what his wait is like, what he has to endure, the thoughts that went through his mind, the how he came to the point of making the decision that he would write all these writings, so that Yah can be uh, made known, right, to the masses. And that's what he's talking about in this song. And so we're going to talk about a little bit what waiting looks like, and we're going to learn about that by looking at David's experience with waiting. So in Psalms 40 verse 1, it starts with an introduction. It says this is the continuation of the works attributed to David's music, and the name of this work is Waiting. So this is David's song, and the first part that we want to look at is David's call. So he starts his song with, pay attention, kids, pay attention. He starts his song with talking about his call, and he says, "I will wait on Yahuwah, and He will cradle me and hear my cry. He's lifted me up from straw pressed in boggy clay, and sat me on a cliff with my feet firmly established. Now, I want us to stop and think about what David is saying. Yah lifted him up from straw pressed in boggy clay. I want to say, is it an adobe house?
That's how you said in bricks.
Yeah, so the straw pressed in boggy clay, that is how bricks used to be made. So what David is expressing in this song is that he was in a place that he was basically doomed, right? There was no getting out of this straw and clay. This is how houses used to be built back in the day. In some places, houses are still built that way. It pretty much makes like a brick, in this straw pressed in clay. It makes a brick. And so David is saying that he was basically like trapped in a brick. And Yah took him out of that place and he put him up high on a cliff away from the dangers of this boggy clay. And he established his feet so that he would not fall back into the clay. And so this is how David expresses that sentiment. David says, He's given me a new song in my mouth, a new song, something different, a new calling, a new thing that must be carried out, that David must do. And he says, this is that song. It says, You will illuminate our God. So David is receiving some instruction through this song. It's saying that David will illuminate our God. This is your call, David. We say praise in English. This word illuminate, we say praise, right? Halal. But what it really means is to like bring attention to something, to illuminate something, right? To shine something, right? And so we in Ebonics, we say, we used to say anyway, it's old now, but we used to say you gonna shine or something, or like um get your shine on, right? They had a song way back in the day, get your shine on. Well, this is that kind of shine. And so to illuminate, to bring attention to make known. And so the song says that David will make known our God, make our God known. He will illuminate our God. And when he does that, many will see it, many will see what David does, and because they saw it, they'll fear. Now, again, this Hebrew word for fear, yirah, actually means to act according to, in this case, Yah's perception, right? And then there's a fear where we act according to our own perfection. But here we're talking about fearing in Yah. And so acting according to Yah's perceptions. That means the way Yah sees things, the way Yahuwah sees the world. You might call him God. The way God sees the world, the way God sees your life, right? And so to fear is to act according to the way God sees things, as opposed to according to the way we see things. And so it says that they will fear, they will begin to see things from Yah's perspective, and they will trust in Yah. Um, where is there a warrior, David says, who deems his trust is from Yahuwah, yet does not turn away pride and entertains lies? In other words, he's saying when someone trusts in Yahuwah, right? Because by David illuminating God, by David shining the light on God, people are coming to fear and to trust in Yahuwah. And so David says, where is there a man who trusts in Yahuwah yet continues to be prideful and continues to entertain lies? In other words, what David is saying is that when people come to trust in Yahuwah, they will be incapable of pride. They will become incapable of entertaining lies, because truly trusting in Yahuwah makes those conditions that way. It makes it, when you trust in him, you cannot continue to be prideful. When you trust in him, you cannot entertain lies. And so David says, where is there a warrior? This is a war. This is a battle, right? Where is there one fighting life, fighting this thing called life, fighting the environment around us, enemies and oppression and all these different things? Where is there one who is fighting all these things, saying that their trust is in God, yet also being prideful and entertaining lies? And David's point is that there is not. You cannot trust in God and also be prideful and entertain lies. And so David says, my call is this: I must illuminate God. Because I heard the song, David said, I heard the song. And the song said that I must shine the light on Yah so that people will see it, they will fear, and they will trust in Yahuwah. The next part of David's song is David's response to this call that Yah has on his life, this new song that he heard. It says, you have performed many things, and this is verse 5 of Psalms 40. You have performed many things, Yahuwah my God, and your plans for us produce order towards you. Now let's talk about what that means. It says that Yah's plan, in essence, what David is saying is that Yah's plan for us orders our steps toward him. Yah's plan for us set the right path, right? Allows all the right things and puzzle pieces to fall into place so that we are drawn closer to Yah, that we go towards Yah, right? And so he is ordering our steps. That is his plans for us. David says, so I will make it be told, and I myself will speak it abundantly and without measure. Not only will he speak the things that Yah is doing for his people, but he said he's going to cause other people to tell it, right? So I'm going to speak it, and I'm going to encourage other people to go and tell what they've learned, to go and share what they've learned. Verse 6 says, you do not desire a sacrifice and an offering. You've unclogged my ears, asking for neither a burnt offering or sin offering. Then you said that I should enter in a scroll the record which is written upon me. How many of you know that Yah has written a record upon you? That he has written his teachings, his calling for your life, everything, it's already on you, right? It's already on you. And so David says that Yah wrote the record on him, and now Yah is telling him, write it down on paper, okay? Write it down on paper, record it on paper. Verse 8 says, so it is my pleasure to do your will, and your teachings are in the midst of my belly. Here we go again. David says, you wrote everything on me. You put it inside of me, right? And so there's two things. He says, I will report these things righteously to a great audience. He says, I'm going to share this with a lot of people. Here we are, thousands of years later, reading Psalms. It has been shared with with the amount of people that is innumerable, right? And so God did exactly what he said he was going to do in David. We are living proof of that. What we're doing right now is living proof that God did exactly what David said that he would. And David did his part just as he said he would. Right, right. If not, we would not have Psalms in any of the other books that David wrote. And so the proof is in the pudding, right? And he says, I'm going to repeat again, verse 9, I will report these things. No, I'm sorry, I said that part. Okay, 9, I will report these things righteously to a great audience. He says, I will not restrain my lips. Yahuwah, it shall be made known. And so he takes the calling, right? Remember, Yahuwah told him what he was going to do and why, right? In the new song. And so now David is responding. David says, it's my pleasure to do your will. He says, everything you've taught me is inside of me. And I'm going to record it, report it. I'm going to write it down. And I'm going to do it in a righteous way. And I'm going to make it available to a great audience, to a lot of people. He says, I will not restrain my lips. He said, I'm not going to stop from saying nothing. And we're going to learn that in here, right? David is going to tell you the good, the bad, and he always does, the ugly about himself, right? He doesn't just tell you the good things. Oh, Yah did this and said that for me. He also tells you where he's flawed at and what his issues are. He says, so I'm going to do it righteously, which in that is the definition of righteous, right? To be completely open and honest, to give both sides of a story, to give everything you know, and not pick and choose what you want to say or what you want to share, right? And this is exactly what David does, and this is what he's saying here that he will do. He says that he will not, he tells Yahuwah, he says, It shall be made known. Yah, everything that you are telling me to do, everything that you have taught me, everything that you have written on me, I will make it known to the masses. All right. And he says, it shall be made known. I will not hide your righteousness in the midst of my own mind. I will not hide your righteousness in the midst of my own mind. And this is something that I could personally identify with. You know, a person could know so much, have so much information, insight about scripture, really about anything. But what good is it if they can't share it with the world, if they can't produce it and put it out there to the world? And this is what we're trying to do right now, right? I'm trying to take this stuff out of my own mind and share this righteousness with Yahuwah's people. He says, I will proclaim your faithfulness and your salvation, and will not conceal your kindness and truth from that great audience. He's going to proclaim Yah's faithfulness and Yah's salvation, and he will not conceal the kindness that Yahuwah has, nor will he conceal Yahuwah's truth from that great audience. Y'all, we have here before us the product of this covenant essentially that David made with Yah.
We're still part of the Greek audience.
We're part of the great audience. Exactly. Verse 11 says, the purpose of Yahuwah shall not be withheld. What is the purpose of God? You might have that question. David is telling you right now, he's sharing it. Yah has called him to share Yah's own purpose with the people. And David says, I will not withhold that purpose. David says to Yah, you will continually preserve your kind of compassion and your truth. And then we want to talk about that kind of compassion. You see, quite often we get these words mixed in with our Western understanding of stuff, right? And so I want you to notice it's important that the Hebrew language doesn't just, usually it would just say your compassion. But here it doesn't just say your compassion. It says your kind of compassion. Yah's brand of compassion is different from the brand that the world um, puts out there, right? Conveys. And so he says he's not just going to he's not just going to Yah's not just going to preserve compassion in general, but his own kind of compassion and also his truth. David's songs continue with David's request. Verse 12 says, for dysfunctional ones are all around me. Its product is without number, so much so that my own guilt goes unrecognized. Here is David telling all of the story, right? Not just the parts that he want to choose to tell. He says the dysfunctional ones, the dysfunctional things, dysfunctional people, dysfunctional, right? We call this dysfunctional thing, we say evil, right? So the evil ones, but what it really means is the dysfunctional ones, the ones who are not functional, the ones who don't do what they are supposed to do, the things that don't do what they are supposed to do. And so David is saying that these things are all around him, these dysfunctional people, these dysfunctional things, so much so that sometimes he can't even recognize when he in the wrong. He says, and he become incapable of distinguishing its abundance. Just how wrong, just how dysfunctional things are. He says, I become incapable of distinguishing its abundance from that of the hairs of my head. It's so much. If I tried to count it, it would be like trying to count hairs on my head. He said, that is just how immersed in dysfunction I am. And he's saying that sometimes I can't even see that I'm in the midst of dysfunction. Sometimes I can't even see that I myself am guilty of being dysfunctional. That's just how bad it is. He says, therefore my heart fails. Desire to be my deliverer, Yahuwah. Yahuwah, be my breastplate of help. Remember, I said that we're in a war. We're in a war. And so David to ask Yahuwah to be like if you don't know what a breastplate is, it's like on the medieval movies, they have the metal plates on their chest whenever they go into battle. Yeah, the Romans used to wear these metal plates to go into battle. And David says Let that metal plate on me in this fight be your help, right? Song continues, and David goes on to talk about the naysayers and the mockers. He says in 14, they are embarrassed and confused, united in seeking out my soul to destroy it. They are regressing. David says that these dysfunctional ones, these dysfunctional people are going backwards instead of forwards. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I can definitely identify with that. When I look at this world, I used to think that that people were getting better, that they were growing as people, the humanity, right, as a whole, right, and outwardly it looked that way. But now when I look out at the world, I see that people are actually going backwards. I mean, even just in the sense of this COVID thing, for example, though it seems like the worse it get, the more people begin to behave like they don't have no sense, right? The more people go backwards instead of going forwards in God, instead of trusting him more, instead of growing in him, they're going back and reverting to the things that are not of God, right? And so they're going backwards. And David says, even in his day, the evil people, the dysfunctional people around him were going backwards. They were regressing. He says, and they shamefully desire my dysfunction. They want me to regress with them. They want me, David says, to regress with them. In 15 it says, they call restraint their embarrassment, saying to me, that's protection, that's protection. All who seek from you are joyous and rejoice in you. But they say, will you continue? Yahuwah will magnify those who are lovers of your salvation, yet you are afflicted and in need. And so they're mocking David. They're saying, David, you said that Yahuwah will magnify those who love his salvation, but yet you suffering, right? So they're mocking David. They tell David, is that protection? Is that protection? Right? Every time he go through something, every time he falls short, every time he
like, oh, where's your God now?
exactly Mike says, like, where's your God now? Where is your God now? Right? And that's exactly how it is. And if some people won't say it out loud, but they thinking it. And so David admits that he has gone through the exact same thing. And remember, this is all happening in David's wait. While he waits, he is dealing with mockers, with naysayers. He's dealing with dysfunction in his life, even in himself. But he continues, and we're going to just kind of review in a second how he continues. All right. So the song continues with David's waiting. He says, my Lord will think about me. He will help me. He's talking to his naysayers, right? Remember, the dysfunctional ones have told him, is that protection? Is that protection? Right? So you said the lovers of his salvation, would be joyous, yet you suffering and in need. He said his response to them is, my Lord will think about me. He will help me. He will deliver me. This, my God, certainly shall prevent. And the this that he's talking about is what you said, right? I think something we say that's similar to that is when somebody tells you something you're trying to do won't succeed, for example, and you'll say something like oh shoot, what's the saying? I can't remember the saying, but this is what he said. He's saying um no, God forbid, that's the word I'm looking for, right? God forbid. And this is what he's saying. So he says this, like, God forbid, that's what we say, right? So somebody say, oh, you can't do that, you can't achieve this, you can't accomplish that, and you say, God forbid, keep that negativity away from me, let that thing that you're saying not come to pass, right? And so David is saying that God certainly shall prevent this thing, these negative things that you're saying about and towards my situation. He's going to prevent those things from happening. And so David stands, and even in the midst of his persecution, in the midst of the naysayers, he stands and he continues to believe. what he believes, that his Lord will think of him, will help him, and will deliver him. So the takeaways for today, the things that I really want you to leave today with is, one, David experienced all the things that we experience, y'all, while he wait, right? David, a king. David, the ancestor of Yeshua. He is considered the father of Jesus Christ, of Yeshua the Hamashiach. And he had to go through the very same things that we go through, right? So we have to realize that we are not exempt, y'all. That being a child of God, being a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, being a person called out by the Most High God, does not exempt you from persecution. And as a matter of fact, it put exactly, Mike said, it puts a target on your back. It puts a target on your back and makes you persecuted. It puts a target on your back and makes evil pursue you. It puts a target on your back. And so I want you to know that even a great king like David had to experience these things. Even the Savior himself, the Messiah, had to experience these things. And you are not exempt, nor should you want to be exempt.
That's part of the price of being Christ-like.
Exactly. Being Christ-like means taking the good and the bad, y'all. The good and the bad. So I want you to take that with you. This is an experience, the experience that David is sharing. It is an experience that we are all going to face. That is the price of being called out. The next thing I want you to remember is that David found purpose in his wait. David didn't just sit still and wait and be like, well, I'm just waiting on God. I'm just going to sit up in here and wait and wait and wait. No, that's not how you wait. David said, this is how I'm waiting. He said that he would share all that Yahuwah did for him while he was waiting. He's going to testify to everyone who's going to listen of Yahuwah's great works, of Yahuwah's purpose, his truth, and his salvation. He said that he would demonstrate the righteousness and kindness of Yahuwah. He said that he would play his role in Yahuwah's plan to preserve Yahuwah's truth and Yahuwah's type of kindness. And it would change people's hearts and shift them towards Yahuwah with the example that David would set. This is what he was doing while waiting, y'all. He wasn't just sitting around on his hands saying, well, God will come through. No, he had to be doing some things. There were some things he needed to do while he waited. And David did those things. And I think right now is a time of waiting. Right now is a time where we need to begin to put our focus on these things and begin to do these things. And this is the waiting. This is the waiting. The waiting is a chance for other people to be called in. It's a chance for other people to witness God. It's a chance for them to witness how he works in our lives, how he brings us out of those bad things that are the price that we have to pay, how he lifts us up out of that clay, right? And that grain pressed together. This is the time for that, right? This is the time. That's what the wait is. So we're waiting, and yes, we're going through. But the way God is magnified, the way God is praised, is illuminated, is by bringing us out of those things before the eyes of man. And so, fret not, y'all. The wait is well worth it. And it's for a purpose greater than ourselves, right? Is we not just suffering just to suffer. We're suffering because somebody needs to see us come out of our suffering, right? And David says, this is what I'm doing. But even in all that, y'all, David admitted that he was a victim of his dysfunctional surroundings. He recognized that he was so immersed in dysfunction that he sometimes couldn't even see it in himself. And I want you to realize and recognize that in this moment, in every moment, that you are not, just as you are not exempt from suffering, just as you are not exempt from persecution, from mocking, from naysayers, you are not exempt from dysfunction. And the faster you realize that you might be wrong, the faster you realize that you might be acting against the will of God, the faster you realize that you are not living, you are not functioning, right? You are not doing what you were intended to do, the better off you will be. David recognized this. Those who seek out Yahuwah rejoice in Yahuwah, David says, rather than question their current condition. Where do we get this from? When the naysayers are talking, right, and they say that, oh, so that's protection, as David is going through something. David says, those who trust in Yahuwah rejoice. The naysayers come back and they talk about, well, you in need and you this and you that. David's take on it is, I'm not worried about this current condition. I know my God will help me. I know my God will deliver me. I know my God will think of me, right? I'm not worrying about this current condition. And y'all, this is the definition of trust. You can't trust in something that is your current condition. You can't. Trust is not necessary. Trusting in something means believing and hoping for something that does not currently exist. So it is literally impossible to trust anything or anyone if there is nothing that you need trust for. You need to trust for. If your current condition is good, in other words, then trust is not necessary. But when your current condition is not so good, then trust is required. All right. And so what we have to do in our current condition, which is not so good, is trust. And that's the only thing really to do. We have to trust in Yahuwah. He said that this is our salvation in Isaiah 30 last week. He said, trust and tranquility will save us. Save us means to wait, to be still, and to trust in Yah is where our salvation is. Finally, David asked questions. David asked for what he wants. He asked for Yah's attention. He said, think of me. He asked for Yah's deliverance from his blind spots, right? The dysfunctions that he was so immersed in, he sometimes couldn't see it in himself. He asked for deliverance from that. And for deliverance from the manifestation of the things that were spoken by his naysayers. He said, deliver me from this thing that they're talking about. Lord shall prevent it, right? So he asked for deliverance. And finally, David asked for help in carrying out his calling. He said, Yahuwah, be my breastplate of help. He said, Yahuwah, help me. So David asked for what he wants. You have to remember to ask for what you need as well. You know, a lot of times we focus on asking for things and we forget to ask for the things that we truly need, which are all things that are within us, right? These are intangible things that you can't hold, you can't touch, you can't see. They are intangible, and those are the things that we really need. We need Yah's thoughts to be towards us. We need his deliverance from certain things, and we need his help to get through so that we can do like David and obey the calling that Yah has for us. So I'm going to leave you with this. What new song has Yah given you? What in this quiet time, right? In this time of quarantines, in this time where he is trying at least to set us apart, to make you go to your house and be with nobody. Why is he doing all that? Why does he want you to be set apart from this world? Why is Yah trying to separate you and put you in a room by yourself? Why is Yah trying to separate your family and keep them in a house by themselves? Why? Ask why. The answer to this question is that it is time now for learning and reflection on our call. What has Yah called us to do? And if we are anything like David, then we should be waiting like David. While we wait, we share what Yah has done for us. We testify of him. We demonstrate his righteousness and his kindness. We play our role in his plans. We do everything that we can for Yahuwah. That is, this time is to focus on what Yahuwah wants. without the distractions of this world, without the distractions of the dysfunctional ones, without the distractions even of family. So it's your choice. Are you going to take this time to do what Yah wants you to do? Are you going to keep on pushing back? It's really up to each and every one of us. Well, that's all I have for today, family. Shabbat Shalom. If you have any questions, any comments, please post them in the comment section below. I love you all. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.